Hi everybody, Dr. Miller here from Smart Health. Today I wanted to review with you some low back stretches that you can do if your low back is getting tight or stiff from sitting. As you saw my video the other day, you know that I did a video about sitting and some good sitting tips to help your low back while you're sitting. But now we're going to go over some stretches that you can do to help keep your low back flexible so that it's not so stiff and tight and painful. There's a stretch that I really like to do while you're sitting. This will help loosen up the glutes, and this is a stretch that you can do before you even stand up if you tend to be stiff when you stand. And so what you do is you simply bring the leg up. You're going to put the opposite ankle on the knee. For some of you, this is going to be enough of a stretch and hard enough to get in this position. For others, you're not going to feel much right here. So what you want to do is maybe put some pressure on this knee to feel it more in the hip. Or what you can do is lean forward. But that's going to give you a nice deep hip stretch. By relaxing that hip, what it's going to do is going to allow the glute muscles and the hip muscles to relax so they won't pull so much on your low back when you stand. Of course, all stretches you want to do on both sides, so you would do the same thing here. The reason why sometimes when you go to stand up after sitting for a while and you kind of get that hitch and kind of stop right here is because those glutes are tight, the low back muscles are tight, and the hip flexors are tight. So once you're standing, there's a couple of stretches that you can do while you're standing to help stretch out the low back, the legs, and the hips. And so one of my favorite stretches is a standing hamstring stretch. And what you're going to do, I'm going to face you so you can see, is you're going to stand with the legs apart, kind of like this. So you're going to stand with the legs apart, and that back foot, the toes are going to be tilted out a little where the heels are going to line up. When you get in this position, the hips are kind of going that way, so you want to move your hips so that you're facing forward toward where the toe is. Then you're just going to lean forward, and what that's going to do is it's going to help stretch your hamstring out, so a side view. You want to hold all your stretches for about 15 to 30 seconds. And so the standing hamstring stretch is great for those hamstrings, which are right in the back of the legs. Also, you want to do the quad stretch, which is in the front, because you don't want to stretch just one side of the leg. So the quad stretch, you're just going to do like this, and then I like the same one on both sides. So that's got the front of the legs and the back of the legs deep in the glutes so far. Now we want to do the side of the hips. So a nice stretch here is to kind of push the hip out, bring the arm up and over like this. Some of you are going to feel a nice stretch in the side of your hip when you do that. You don't, what you can do is bring this leg back, then come over and do a stretch here, and now you might feel it a little bit more. So that'll stretch the outside part of the hips. In order to get the hip flexors, we need to get down on the ground. So my favorite hip flexor stretch, you're going to get on your knees, one leg comes forward, and what you're going to do, is you're going to lunge into that leg. And so you'll notice my knee is right over the ankle, and then I'm leaning forward here. You can also bring that top of your body up to get a deeper stretch. You should feel this in the hip flexor here. So from the front, it just looks like the knee is coming forward, and then you're just leaning right into that stretch. To make a deeper stretch, what you want to do is bring that upper body back more to get it more into the hip flexor, or bring the foot forward and then lunge lower. But that'll really help that hip flexor, which is the muscle in the front of the leg here. That muscle can get really tight and stiff when we sit a lot because it's the muscle that brings the leg up, and it also is the muscle that's contracted while you're sitting. And that muscle, when that tightens up, contributes to that kind of stiff body that doesn't stand fully. So the hip flexor stretch is a great one to do before you sit, and then also when you're done with sitting. So if you know you have a project you're going to be doing, or maybe you're going to be watching a movie, then you want to make sure you're doing that stretch before the sitting, and then of course when you're done. So those are just some of my favorite low back stretches. Really, that's really a lot of stuff that's getting those glutes and the legs, which that pulls on the low back. Diving right into low back directly, I really love bending forward and touching the toes. That's a great low back stretch. A further variation of that would be a pose called child's pose, which is one of my favorite yoga stretches. Again, on the ground. And what you're going to do, can you see me? It's kind of hard to do the video. What you're going to do is you're going to bend and just come down like this, kind of in a little ball. You could bring the elbows in if you want to. But this stretch right here is really nice for the low back. And then you can also do kind of a twist stretch. When you're sitting down, you can bring the knee over. Actually, you'll probably see it better. Yeah, if I do it this way, and then you're gonna twist a little bit, and then the other leg, and twist a little bit. But of course, you don't wanna try to pop your back. You just wanna do a little bit of a stretch to get that low back stretched out. So those are some of my favorite stretches to loosen up legs, glutes, low back, which should help with some of your discomfort. And then go back to the video that we did with some sitting tips so that way you're more comfortable while you're sitting. If you have any questions on these stretches, please reach out, comment below. And if you found them helpful, please like and share the video. Thanks, have a great day.